Yep, that's exactly who you think it is. After 3 years off the internet, the least favorite former try guy, Ned Fulmer, the guy that used his wife for his entire personality and then cheated on her with his producer, is back on the interwebs. He has made a return with a new podcast, and the first episode features none other than his ex-wife, Ariel Fulmer. It feels good to say ex-wife. That feels good. The woman he cheated on in a incredibly public scandal 3 years ago. Now, if you are unfamiliar with the scandal or don't remember the scandal, the specifics, I'm gonna link a video I made 3 years ago when it first happened, and I kind of went over some of the things that I was thinking about when it happened. There's something about it as a YouTuber that I find fascinating and self-destructive, because it's not just cheating on your wife, which is bad enough. It's cheating on your wife when your entire public-facing persona was how much you love your wife and your family. Then cheating on her in public with another person that you work with who is also a public figure, and then causing a whole slew of legal issues for the company that you co-own. It was fascinating. It was truly fascinating. I will link that down below if you need a refresher, perhaps. But today we're going to talk about how he has created his own podcast, and the first episode, again, features his ex-wife that he cheated on humiliatingly 3 years ago. I was first informed of this via a post that apparently he put on Instagram, and somebody sent it to me on Bluesky. Quote, "Thank you so much to people for speaking to me about my new show, Rock Bottom. I know it's been a while since you've heard from me. I'm excited to return to creating, although things are going to look a bit different this time around. My show is about surviving rock bottom, and tune in to my debut episode with Ariel on Wednesday to gain an understanding of what the past 3 years have been like and how we are building something new." And so Ned's method of building something new is to bother his wife and use her for a personality once again. In fairness, I will say that being that the last time we've seen him online was him being known for a very public-facing adultery scandal, I get why he feels that when he returns, he has to like shift some things. And I understand to some degree why Ariel would be open to participating in something like that. She's able to put some rumors that have been placed on her unrightfully to rest as well. And so today, because whether I like it or not, I'm a very nosy bitch. I was gonna say I'm working on it. No, I'm not. That was a lie. I would have lied to you. That would have been a bold-faced lie to your face. No, I'm not. I love being nosy. Always been a nosy bitch. Ain't nothing better than me than some random person telling me they work drama. I love hearing shit. I'm nosy. Curious cat. And because I'm nosy, I've actually watched it. So if you'd prefer my commentary on it as opposed to having to watch it yourself, because it is painful, actually. Painfully awkward, especially if looked at normal speed. I don't recommend it. Yeah, you can watch along with me. But first of all, I guess I should introduce myself to new people. Hi, I'm Kendall. New around here, welcome. Not new around here. What is up, home skillet biscuit? This probably won't be the longest video, but still, get your lunch, get your socks that you need to fold or whatever you're doing. Listen to me like a podcast. Go out and take your dog to poop. And while you figure out what you're doing, I'm going to send it over to Admiral Kennie. Thank you. Hello everyone, this is Admiral Kennie, and today's video is sponsored by Factor. Factor creates chef-curated meals that are ready to eat in just 2 minutes, fresh, delicious, and nutritious, along with your particular fitness or health goals. And now they have a new expanded menu that includes even more choices, doubling their menu to 80 plus rotating weekly meals. And if you're a seafood girly like me, they've actually doubled the amount of seafood meals with the addition of more russet. She's sniffing the camera like she doesn't know what it is. Would you like to say something to the people? Oh, now you're camera shy. They have doubled the amount of seafood meals with the addition of more premium seafood options to their original menu, including barramundi, salmon, shrimp, all at no additional cost. They've also introduced a customization option that allows you to select proteins to be swapped out, again, at no additional cost. And just as before, they are tailored to your particular health goals. If you're trying to up your protein, eat more fiber, and most importantly, they're delicious. I had the cheddar, grilled chicken, cheddar jalapeno, and creamy cauliflower situation. Very good. And sometimes you just don't feel like cooking, and it's great to have something healthy, compact, ready in 2 minutes if you put it in the microwave, at most 3 if you want it to be a little hotter, and then you can stuff your face. A TV dinner, but without all of that goes into a traditional TV dinner. Have you ever read the back of one of those things? It's terrifying. So if you would like to check out Factor, head over to factor75.com or click the link down in the description box and use code KennieFB50 to get 50% off plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's code KennieFB50 at factor75.com to get 50% off plus free breakfast for a year. Offer only valid to new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. Big thanks again to Factor for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get on to the debauchery. So, on September 17th, 2025, Ned posted the first episode of his brand new podcast, Rock Bottom. And of course, the first guest is his now ex-wife, Ariel, the woman that gave him his entire personality. I don't know what I expected from this, to be quite frank with you. And so I am going to preface my reactions to things saying that I may not be the most charitable to Ned, because outside of him being the betrayer of this whole scenario, as a person who was a fan of the Try Guys, though I didn't really care a whole lot about Ned, but I did know him as the my wife guy. I don't know what I really expected for this podcast, but I will say that I was disappointed from him. I really like some of the things that Ariel said. If I didn't find anything of interest in this podcast, I wouldn't be making this video. So there are things to really talk about in how she shares her experience and journey and what she had to work through in the aftermath of this implosion and explosion that Ned did. But I guess I expected more, introspection from Ned, more evidence that he understood what happened and the severity of what happened and also why it happened. He definitely said sorry a lot, and he definitely said, like, that's something that I caused and I'm aware of that. There wasn't any clarity. He wasn't saying anything. He didn't say anything about how things started the affair. He didn't say anything about what put him in that headspace. He didn't say anything intelligent about understanding the pain that he caused outside of saying, yeah, I know I caused a lot of pain. But there wasn't anything that showed what I would consider understanding of what happened and why, and particularly why it happened so publicly. He doesn't really say a whole lot. And maybe that's on purpose, because he does seem to be wanting to shift towards him being more of a host instead of the focus. But it's kind of hard to do that when you're not a neutral third party interviewing this woman who was cheated on by some nebulous person. You are the person that cheated on her. So you have to participate. But I will say that Ariel did a great job kind of unpacking some thoughts that I've had about infidelity, and I've never quite been able to articulate what I think about in regards to this. I think she provides a good framework for me to talk about some other things. But yes, it's basically a conversation pretty much strictly with Ariel. So not them talking together about the entire experience. It's just Ariel, how she found out, how she reacted, how she healed, what their relationship is like now. Has she forgiven him? Those type of things, which I think has its own merits, but I kind of feel like he don't need to be there. Anybody could have interviewed her. It didn't have to be him if this is how he's going to react about it. I think the closest he came to adding anything somewhat interesting or introspective about the whole phenomenon is that he says that once you get in the habit of doing an affair, you compartmentalize and you rationalize a lot. And later he's like, yeah, I didn't realize how much I hurt you until I saw you in pain. We'll get to that. It was an absolute mess. It opens with a solo shot, presumably Ned filmed after they had already filmed it, and it is painfully awkward. Also, it's giving Breaking My Silence Tati type beat. Yeah, there's something that feels very millennial YouTube about it, where basically he's like, hey, I cheated on my wife 3 years ago and I'm making a podcast. He says it in the sad voice, and he takes a lot of pauses and a lot of breaths, the way that YouTube apologies and YouTube serious videos tend to. Again, watch my old video if you want to know more of the nuances, but he ruined so many things. His relationship with his wife, the person he cheated with, was also engaged, so they broke up. It became a big public scandal. The person he cheated with was also at least friendly with his ex-wife. Also a bunch of legal shit because he was her employer, so there's a lot of things that go on in that. He was also a co-owner of the company. There's a lot of legal things and money things that go along with that. So as you can imagine, it was a mess. Also, all of these people were public facing. The person he cheated with, her name is Alex. His wife also appeared in podcasts and on screen, and people knew who she was by name, Ariel, and Ned. So as a person whose entire personality stereotypically was around his wife, it is cyclical that, again, the first thing to jump off his next endeavor is going back to his ex-wife. Anyway, if you want to watch it, I highly recommend watching it at least 1.75 speed, if not higher, because it is painfully awkward. There's a lot of silence. There's a lot of just looming anxiety silence. And I get why. He doesn't deserve to be comfortable in this conversation, so it's fine. As a viewer, I'm like, ugh, this is... Ugh. He also presents this as a necessary thing for Ariel in this introduction.
But it's necessary for her to move forward, and I'm grateful for the chance to witness it. I get why people were so outraged, and I understand that that is the reason that she can't move forward.
I call bullshit because, like, sure, she says things about like everyone feels like we're stuck in 2022, and I'm like, I want to move on. But then she also says she doesn't plan to be a very public facing person. She doesn't plan on being an influencer. She might have her own company or something, but probably won't have a lot that would have her face necessarily. So like, I don't know what she needed to do this to move on. Sounds like Ned needed this so that he can move on and host, and no one's bringing up his issues while he talks about other people's issues in the subsequent episodes, which is bullshit. But okay, I personally, not to be cynical, it just feels like another very selfish way of going about this, and then painting it like, oh, I'm doing it for her so she can move on. She seems to have moved on pretty well, but okay. All right. But after the intro, we get into the interview. The entire thing is awkward, but especially in the beginning when they both verbally acknowledge the awkwardness of sitting across from each other after being MIA from the internet for about 3 years.
It feels a little awkward.
Yeah.
They say behind the scenes, they've both moved on, they've both grown, they've both built a new dynamic for their relationship, being that they have 2 kids together, and that's something they will always have to consider, whether they like it or not. There's a familial element that tethers them together to some degree. With that said, they are not together anymore. They are, as I understand it, fully divorced, because she refers to him as ex-husband. Contrary to some reports that I have seen since the scandal, it was going around that they're still together, like they were going to concerts together and they were hanging out together, and so people assume they were still together. But no, they're just hanging out as friends. Again, they have children together, so they're trying to keep cordial, and sometimes they have fun. They're able to have just platonic fun, which is an interesting place to be. That's a level of maturity I don't think I'm at yet. They've known each other for years. They've been dating since their early 20s, and they're about to turn 40-ish. So, you know, this is a person that's been in your life for a very long time. And so I understand, again, with kids and knowing each other as long as they have, that there is an effort to keep things cordial. But she does make very plain that if people ask her, like, have you forgiven Ned? She's like, no, absolutely no.
People ask me, do you forgive Ned? Absolutely not. How can you forgive somebody for lying to you, for cheating on you? No. Fuck no. You know, sorry, I saw red for a minute. It's like, no, the answer is no.
But ultimately, forgiveness isn't the goal right now. I don't think that is where we're at. I think we're trying to build something different. And again, I've mentioned this before, but I do find it particularly distasteful to interview her as if you are a neutral third party when you're the person that cheated on her. Because like he says, yeah, I understand that must have been very hard for you. And then there's moments where if you don't know the circumstances, you might think he has nothing to do with it. You're like, oh, that was really hard for you. I'm sorry. Then he'll say things like, it is hard for me to hear that you don't forgive me, but I also understand. So then you're like, oh, wait, you cheated on her. Huh.
It's hard to hear you saying like, fuck no, I don't forgive you. But of course I get it. As much progress as we've had, you're still very angry.
This is a weird setup. But granted, their relationship is kind of a weird setup at this point, so I guess falls in line, I guess. It's a thought process that's kind of hard for me to wrap my head around because I've always been a very like cut and dry person. Like if I want to be with you, I'm with you. If I don't, I don't. So I don't understand this like trying to figure out a new type of relationship with this person thing. Again, it's a level of maturity that maybe I could only reach if I had kids or something, but it's fascinating to behold personally as a person that's maybe a little too immature for that. They talk about how she found out about the affair, which was from a fan. Okay, let me look into my feelings. That made me hot. Okay, what is it about that? Let's look into our inner workings, Kendall. What is it? Why is the bodily response doing that? It's embarrassing. Not only are you cheating on me, you doing it in public. You doing it shamelessly. This bitch ain't gonna do nothing. I'm gonna go around and f***ing around. There's something about that. This is me off just thinking about it. But she found out from a fan who sent a photo, Ned and Alex together. Apparently it wasn't super clear who was in the photos. So Ariel would say that she just couldn't comprehend that it was Ned with another woman. So she thought it was his sister. She was like, what's your sister doing in New York? That's weird. Okay. She ends up getting sent more and more pictures. And this is the part that genuinely broke me. Granted, I'm emotional right now. I watched this while PMSing. I cried. Like, something about this hurt me because she starts to talk about how this wasn't just cheating. There was something that fundamentally f***ed with her general feeling of safety.
Nothing was safe. Nothing and nobody. Like I couldn't trust anybody. I couldn't trust the public. I couldn't trust you. I couldn't trust my friends. I just stayed inside, like, because there were cameras everywhere. You know, it was like, it was so unsafe. Everything was unsafe.
The person I've been with for so long that I believed in so wholeheartedly had the capacity and continued to have the capacity to cheat on me. I find out that he cheated on me with someone that I was at least like good work friends with who was engaged. He cheated on me with this person that smiled in my face. Now this cheating scandal is incredibly public and I have cars following us and people waiting to take my picture outside of my home. And I see her body like kind of shrink up. You can see how she's like reliving it. She's like, nothing felt safe. I didn't feel safe anymore. All because of something that he did. Something he did. She didn't do anything. He did it because he went out and did this so publicly and so brazenly with such lack of self-preservation as well. Doing it at all is bad, of course. What I'm saying is you did it so publicly, you didn't give a and now I'm feeling unsafe. And I'd imagine like usually when you're like, I'm not feeling okay, I go to my husband and he's the one that's put you in this position. How do you go to him for that? And I'm just in there like, my eyes are starting to water. Oh, I'm getting mad. Oh my God. He'd have to get his ass beat. I'm sorry. He'd have to get his ass beat. He would. He'd have to go. Oh. La. When they say violence ain't the answer, I'm not singing that. I think so sometimes. Just a swift beat that ass. Just beat that ass. It won't fix nothing, but you might feel better. Yeah. So she starts to talk about this thing that is incredibly traumatizing. Like physically, you can see her physically react. Fight or flight response. Bird in a cage response. And he's just sitting there like, wow, I'm sorry. Like, I guess what else could he say? But also like, you. Ass. That has to beat his ass. I'm sorry. Shit, yesterday, a friend of mine called me. Haven't talked to her in a bit. She was telling me about a she dated. And I'd met him. He was cool. He was nice. I mean, I didn't know him very well. She come telling me this man is a menace. A menace. I'm like, God damn, I didn't even know him. And my world is shook. Got me looking at my like, when will you betray me? And he just sitting there watching JJK or playing Silk Song. And I'm like, I'm watching you. Nothing yet. But I'm watching you. But that shit's so fucked up fundamentally. My eyes are watering. Like, so much about relationships is a certain level of hoping for the best. Just hoping that, you know, trusting that this shit is good and continues to be good. And imagine you have gotten to the place that you are so trusting of this person that you've gotten married, you've been together 10, 15 years, you have 2 kids, you're like everything's good. And one day, some random bitch send you a photo, I'm coming to you as a woman. If a bitch came to me as a woman, I'd be like, please don't go. Oh, please don't tell me. I'm on my period, so everything is making me super emotional. The words that no bitch ever wants to see, I'm coming to you as a woman. I'm coming to you because I feel like you should know this. And I'm like, Please don't ever come to me as a woman. Oh my God. Don't ever come to me as a woman. Sorry, I'm dropping eggs. But I'm just looking at this poor woman just shriveled up. And I'm like, oh, if she threw a shoe at him, I would not blink an eye. He deserved it. For some reason, whenever I see like a big betrayal of trust, it always sends me back to when I found out this guy I went to college with that I really thought was a great person. He was really cool. Ended up being a predator. Like every time I hear about a betrayal, it sends me back to that moment because it's like, nothing is real, nothing is real, nothing is safe, nothing is good. When I say that shit is traumatizing, it is traumatizing. Oh my God. Ariel talks about the moment she confronted him. And essentially she had just gotten off of a plane ride and he came to pick her up. And she mentions the photo again in the context of understanding her as his sister. And she's like, oh, when did your sister get to New York? And she says that she could just see on his face, like the guilt, the shame, just in that moment, it all made sense. The closest he comes to giving any form of like introspection in regards to the affair was when he says that he deluded himself and rationalized and compartmentalized to make it seem like it wasn't that bad. Like the thing that he's doing is not that bad. But in that moment where he can see her reaction, her face, suddenly he's like, whoa, yeah, this is bad.
Illusions and rationalizations that you as the person doing that sort of are telling yourself why it's not so bad or why it's going to be okay or why actually this talked about it in this way. And then it's like, I remember that moment, it all just kind of like fell down where everything changed for me as well.
She says that she told him to immediately drive her back to the airport and she left. As I talk about that, again, painfully awkward, but I do appreciate that she keeps the awkward silence going because again, why does he deserve reprieve from the weight of that moment?
I've been hurting this person that I love this whole time.
You didn't realize until then?
Well, you know, but then there's other things you tell yourself to kind of compartmentalize, or I guess.
He does admit that a small part of him was relieved that she knew. Finally, he could let go of some of the shame and the anxiety and the hiding and the guilt and all that. But she does a great job of kind of articulating the conundrum that comes from that as well. In that moment where a cheater can finally release their shame and their guilt, that shame and guilt doesn't just disappear. The betrayed partner now has to hold that. They have to carry that. They have to accept that for no fault of their own, their entire world and the entire way that they perceive their relationship and the people closest to them, that entire thing has shifted and crumbled, again, for no fault of their own, because now I'm holding on to your shame from something that you did.
In that like release of their
shame and guilt
and guilt that they've been holding, they feel so much relief. But the partner then has to accept it. I had to take all of that guilt and shame of your affair, and it was so much to carry.
And that's bad enough just getting cheated on. Then you add on top of that the public scrutiny, the loss of work, the loss of friendships, the way society kind of talks about women who get cheated on. It's like, what did you do to make him stray? She had to carry all of that, even though she didn't do anything. She does ask him, had that ever occurred to you that I would be left holding those things? And he says this in a more roundabout and less aggressive way than I'm going to say it. But what I understood it was, nah, because if I thought about it too hard, I couldn't have cheated on you.
If you really like let it sink in just how much you're hurting your partner, how devastating it is, like how could you do that?
If I allowed myself to consider what it actually was, I wouldn't be able to cheat on you. And I wanted to cheat on you. So what the how would I do that? How could I think about the things that this would cause and be able to cheat on you? That'd be up, I guess. I don't know. At some point, she asked him, like, what happened? Like, why? What happened? He basically says, like, the dream life, the dream family, the dream that we had built was starting to fall apart for me. And I couldn't communicate that to you. So I cheated on you. I was too scared to say, hey, something isn't feeling right here. So instead, I cheated on you. Not because our marriage wasn't great. We had a great marriage. We had great kids. Everything was awesome. Everything was great. I just cheated. Which, reminder if you need it, if the person wants to cheat, they gonna cheat. It don't matter if you rich, poor, fat ass, flat ass. You can be pretty, ugly, tall, short, fat, skinny, rich, poor. Don't matter. If a motherfucker want to cheat on you, they're gonna cheat on you. And that's why it's more important to get with motherfuckers that won't cheat on you. But like I said, they be coming out the woodworks. And it's hard to know. After basically saying nothing the entire time, Ned is like, okay, so shifting gears. Like, what have been happening since the scandal? And Ariel was like, I just needed time. I started making new and authentic friendships, and that helped because it got me to realize that people don't care that much. Like, it's not as much of a weight over me as I thought it once was. People don't give a f. People get cheated on all the time. Sure, it was a bigger scandal than the average person getting cheated on, but they're like, yeah, we don't care. We want to be your friend. She started dating, started doing pottery again, started living again, and being able to form again this weird friendship with her ex-husband. And they've been participating in their relationship in a very platonic, again, support-driven way. Towards the end, they touch on public persona. He talks about the wife guy persona that he curated because that was the thing that brought the most attention to him, because he didn't really have anything to talk about or anything interesting prior to that. And he says that he got pigeonholed as the wife guy and it made him frustrated, and you know, the producers wanted him to be a wife guy and this wanted to be a wife guy, and I was like, bullshit. I call bullshit. To me, it came off blaming other people for the persona that he created for himself. He is the co-owner of the fucking company. If he didn't want to be wife guy, all he had to do is walk in that bitch and say, hey, I don't want to be wife guy anymore. Let's do some other shit. But no, he was wife guy because that's what made him interesting. And when he started having kids, he was the wife guy that had kids. And like, oh, the Try Guys are having kids now. That's crazy. That was who you are because that's who you chose to be. That's who you thought would get most attention. And that is the most attention you got. I do appreciate that as he kind of says something along the lines of like, yeah, I want to shift away from that. And I want to be more, I guess, authentic, like towards the hosting of things. I want to be the vehicle for other people sharing their stories. And Ariel says, you think you're interesting enough for that?
Connect with people and empathize with people.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just, you think you're interesting enough?
No, I don't.
You think other people?
I think other people would be interesting.
Which is a joke, supposedly, but she ain't wrong. Are you? I don't think so. I think part of the reason why he leaned so much into wife guys because he didn't have anything else he could lean into. I think maybe if he had other attributes that he felt like were equally as interesting as his relationship to his wife, he maybe would have focused on that a bit more. But he didn't, either because he didn't have it or because he didn't recognize it. And it sucks because that ended up blowing up in everybody's face, not just his. You know, remembering that, I don't remember if they got married on either the Try Guys channel or even before that, BuzzFeed, but I do remember them having kids with Try Guys. Like, oh, Ariel's pregnant. Like, a Try Guy is having a baby. Like, well, that's crazy. Like, that whole thing was so much of his brand, of his like wholesome parasociality. And if he wanted to break out of it, again, you're co-owner of the company. You didn't have to stay into it anyway. Being that the podcast is called Rock Bottom, she asks, do you think you've seen your rock bottom? And he says, God, I hope so. Basically, his rock bottom was when, after she had found out about the affair, she says, I don't think we can get past this. And that's when he's like, oh, wow, the thing I did do was bad. Oh, okay. And anyway, the podcast essentially ends with Ariel saying that she's gonna, focus on herself, stay away from the internet. She's really enjoyed being away from the internet. It's been very freeing. She doesn't have to worry about how she appears on camera. There's a lot of, stress around how you look for public facing things, and she doesn't want to focus on that. She just wants to have her own business and make pottery and enjoy her kids and have fun. I support that wholeheartedly. Whereas Ned has this podcast now in which he will be interviewing different people who have hit their rock bottom and essentially what they learned and how they came back from it. And that's essentially the entire podcast. What are my closing thoughts on this? It didn't need to be made. I feel like we didn't need to make this podcast, especially in the way that it was made, in the sense that Ned didn't need to be there. If Ariel wanted to come forth and say some stuff about the experience, she definitely could have. Like, she would have every right to. But as far as Ned, again, leveraging this thing that he's most known for now, I guess, more than being a wife guy, is the guy who was a wife guy and cheated on his wife. I guess he's leveraging that to make him a person who's able to understand rock bottom and get up from that. To me, he sounds like the white version of Dear Future Wifey podcast. And I'm curious, not curious enough to actually listen to episode 2, but I'm curious if that's the line he's going in. So we'll see. But yeah, that's a quick update for those of you that were curious, but maybe didn't feel like watching the podcast. Let me know your thoughts if you've seen it or if you've just heard about it from me. I'm curious what your thoughts are. What were your thoughts when the scandal broke? What were your thoughts if you knew Ned and the Try Guys prior? So that I'm also very curious since everything's happened. Like, has anyone even thought of this in the last 3 years? I don't know. It was just funny seeing him. I'm like, really? Really? Okay. You coming back. All right. That's all for today, folks. If you like today's video, feel free to like today's video. Follow me on my social media, Instagram, Bluesky, both of which are KennieJD. If you have other things that you would like me to talk about, feel free to put those down in the comments down below. I am working on 2 other videos that are, one video in particular that's quite long and it's been in the works for a few months now. And hopefully I'll be done with it by the end of the month. Then I also have a video that I want to make about a mayor that did crack in Toronto. Because I feel like if I'm going to talk about Kwame Kilpatrick and how awful of a mayor he was when I grew up in Detroit, I feel like it's only right to say, in fairness, as far as we know, he did not do crack in office. So stay subscribed to see those videos. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.